Hello, it's Chris from the Gunpla Network. Welcome to the Gundamstorian podcast, the first episode of its kind. We will be covering in-universe lore for all things Gundam. The first episode is hosted by Kris, Pat, and Zappa. This episode of the Gundamstorian podcast comes to you courtesy of Side 7 Exports. Side 7 Exports is your one-stop shop for all your P-Bondi and Gundam-based exclusive needs. After checking out their catalog, don't forget to use the promo code Gunpla Network 10 for 10% off your order. It's Chris from the Gunpla Network. I'm here with Patrick and Zappa. Are we going to call you Zappa?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, we have Zappa here. We are the Gundamstorian lore crew, and we're here with our first podcast. So bear with us as we feel our way through this. Today we're going to be talking about Blue Destiny. Anyone?
Blue Destiny. So, are we more focused on the game or the manga tonight?
Or just the story they're in?
We can start with the manga and see where it goes from there. I haven't played the games in depth myself. I've built the kits and I own the manga, which I had to reread last night because it's been about 10 years.
Yeah, I've dabbled a bit in the story that has been reinterpreted in SD Gundam G Generation Genesis on the PS4.
Is that the new story where they've taken the old one and added stuff to it, or?
I'm not sure. From what I've looked into, it is more or less the story that is based through the video game.
Okay, because in 2015, they, I guess, rebooted the manga a little bit from 1999.
Sounds about right.
I haven't been able to actually find the rebooted manga. It was in, I believe, the weekly Gundam Ace, or as one website called it, Gundam Ass magazine.
Not new type.
That's a name.
Rule 34, right?
Yep.
I'm sure it was a typo or mistranslation, because I've never heard of a magazine called Gundam Ass before.
Well, there were plenty of translation errors in the original manga, for that matter, but that's neither here nor there either.
That's normal. That's just par for the course. It adds its charm to it.
Indeed.
So I guess the story starts with the professor.
Well, if we're going historically, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, he leaves. What's his name?
Clust.
Clust. Yes, he creates this exam system for the Zeons. He defects to the Federation, but he leaves the exam system with the Zeons, and then also develops it for the Federation.
Well, yeah. See, there's a few things going on with that. First of all, right, he made it because he discovered what new types were and was terrified and hateful of that thought. So he honestly developed the exam system to make sure they could not win.
Okay, so when he developed a system for the Zeons with Welch?
Yeah, he used Marion Welch, who was a identified new type with the Flanagan Institute. Memory serves.
But from reading the manga last night, it sounds like he traps her in the Federation exam unit.
Well, no. See, once she was put into the whatever test tube she was hooked up to be the exam controller, I guess would be the term for it, right? That's it. Her soul was friggin' programmed into those machines because of the exam system.
So she controlled the Ifrit as well as Unit 1.
Yeah, she could basically manifest however she wanted to move. It's from what I remember reading the manga, basically her soul was splintered into each different machine.
Okay, that explains why
they could act independently from each other.
Yeah, the Zeon pilot whose name escapes me.
Nimbus Stazen.
Yeah, he was carving that angel figure of her.
Yeah.
As well as Kojima could hear her as well, but he had no idea what he was dealing with, so.
At least at first he didn't know what the hell was going on.
At least in the manga, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because the manga seems to be just the beginning of the whole Blue Destiny thing. It seems to go way further than that.
Well, the manga basically, touches like I was saying before we were recording. It starts on literally right before the original Mobile Suit Gundam side story game begins, right? With you and Black Otter team doing their thing and their fancy new gym command types, just laying waste to everybody.
Yep.
And then the Blue Destiny starts to get involved. And then they more or less cut, from what I can tell, they cut to different parts in between actual stages in the game and put story in it, and that's where the manga comes in. Zappa, feel free to jump in, man.
Oh no, that's I'm probably the least knowledgeable. I'm just flashing back to everything that I had experienced in SD Gundam. But it's at least something, because you make a point there where the games are more about the gameplay, and then the manga's got where your story goes. So I think SD Gundam fits right in between the two, where you get a tactical RPG gameplay, where you have your story going on with you is assigned with his squad, and he's him and his boys are running around with their ground types, and they're assigned, or not so much assigned as they just kind of run into the Blue Destiny Unit 0, which is based on a GM.
Right.
They end up encountering it. It's like, what was that thing? What is this robot that we're fighting? I don't understand. It's about there that once they take out Unit 0, Nimbus also has this Ifrit custom that's got the exam in it. Da, da, da.
Now, the problem with the Blue Destiny Unit 0 is because I think it was still Captain Shamra at that point, because he was the guy behind the gym ground types development. He really wanted to put the Blue Destiny in the gym just to somehow stroke his ego that was better than using a Gundam frame.
You want to develop GM.
Yeah, he wanted to develop it in a gym, and basically the exam system proved to be too much for the gym. It went berserk and basically self-destructed by the time it was done, which is why they had to use a Gundam, which is why originally, now this is before Thunderbolt, there were only 12 RX-79G types that were actually built. Thunderbolt squiffs those numbers with the S type, and we won't get into that. Purely before Thunderbolt, there were only 12. 3 of those were devoted strictly to Blue Destiny. The 8th MS team got, 6?
Something like that. At least 3.
They got 6. At least 6, basically. Because
this happens either after or during 08 MS then?
Oh, it does happen during 08 MS, because they were there for the entire ground war up until Zeon was pushed it back into space, right? Mm-hmm. And so Black Otter team was also doing this stuff, but on a different front. But everybody took part in Odessa.
I guess I should have read more about that. I don't remember much about it.
That's okay. The UC timeline is very active.
Just wait till we touch on the Grips conflict, then you can't shut me up.
I just watched Zeta Gundam, so I remember a little bit about that. So,
but so really at that point in the war, right? So we're UC 0079. We're fourth quarter 0079. Zeon is basically forced back into North America. Black Otter team is autonomous because, let's face it, most of the elite mobile suit teams the Federation have are autonomous because they haven't figured out a standard deployment strategy yet. Zeon is doing everything it can to basically just hold the ground it does have and try to make an orderly retreat, because it's obvious they're losing Earth at that point.
Yeah, they're on their back foot. Yeah.
Really, the fighting gets a lot more intense. That's in Africa. The African campaign in World War II, Rommel ended up being forced out of Africa, and that was some nasty fighting up until he actually was pushed out. That's kind of what they were going for with that feel in that part of the war. And you had all sorts of crazy stuff going on. You had the 8th MS team dealing with Norris Packard, who was freaking scary in his goof. You had White Base freaking dealing with the Black Tri-Stars and their brand new DOMs. You know? And then you had Yu Kajima, Phil Hughes, and Samantha, was it Harris? Yeah. Samantha Harris having to deal with this jerk who came out of nowhere in a freaking model nobody had even heard of before. And it was fast. And it just tore gyms apart like they were paper. Yeah. Let's face it, everything tears gyms apart like they're paper. It came out of nowhere, it hit hard, and it freaking threw everybody for a loop. I see a lot of illusion because I'm from the Wing era. They drew you a lot like Hiro Yui. I'm not crazy. They did, right?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. It's like a hair color palette swap, and hello Hiro Yui, you see 0079.
He also has a little bit of Kuaraki in him too.
Kuaraki?
In his face.
Well, yeah, but he's a far better pilot. Let's not go there.
No, I'm just talking appearance. I'm not talking about.
He doesn't afraid of carrots.
I'm sure we could do a 2-hour podcast on Kuaraki himself.
Or Ryu Roots, or both of them. Who are the shittiest pirates in the EFSF?
The ones that have no names that get blown up in all the GMs.
I'm on Umos.
Or an ode to the poor buggers having to operate in balls.
Hey, points to the guy who's brave enough to paint a shark mouth on his.
Okay, with exception to Shiro, because he was a badass and crazy enough to take down a Zaku in one by punching it.
With a ball?
With a ball.
With a ball.
He used a ball K-type. It was crazy. It's in the manga. It's awesome.
All right, which manga?
It's in the anime too. It's in the first episode.
That's hardcore.
Oh yeah. If it's not, Shiro, then they added it in the Miller's Report OVA.
Yeah, but Shiro was hardcore for that. Yu's hardcore too. I mean, God, the crap he pulls in the stuff you make him do as a player in any of the games is pretty intense. The Blue Destiny game for PS1 itself was a lot of people's first taste in like hardcore, fast-paced ground mecha action if they didn't know about stuff like Armored Core
or Mech Warrior.
Mech Warrior is not fast.
Oh,
that's clunky and slow and just thump.
Fair play.
I don't find it fast.
I've touched one of the games ever, so
yeah.
No, Blue Destiny for PS1.
Mech Warrior does not hold a candle to good Gundam battle sims.
Yes.
No, they move like they're cranes with legs.
And they got big guns. They're walking weapons platforms.
Yeah.
So for all you Mech Warrior fans out there, sorry, that's just the case. They're also a lot smaller than most UC mobile suits.
Mech Warrior's its own thing.
We're not going to get into it any more than that.
The only thing close would be like Bottoms or something.
Votoms.
So just to recap, the Blue Destiny Unit 1 is a RX-79 ground type with the exam head from Unit 0 that went berserk and blew up.
Yes.
And I don't know if I interpreted this correctly or not, but Unit 2 and 3 also use the same head, or is it a different
No,
head?
They're different
machines.
Units 2.
Sorry, go ahead. Zappa.
Oh yeah. Well, Unit 2 and 3 were the other two machines that were developed or probably instituted about the same time that you and Nimbus had fought it out in the Ifrit in the Unit 1. So once they come to blows, or do we need to roll back a little further as to why they even come to blows at all?
Not really. I mean, basically, at that point, or when they did come to blows, right, like it was obvious already to you he had to destroy the Ifrit. And through each of their connections to Marion, through the exam system, they understood who each other was very quickly and why they needed to destroy each other. That part was clear cut. The thing with Units 2 and 3, they were more or less half ready to go. Shamra had those things built and started to be customized. Clust basically approved it. By the time, or right after the events of the original manga, right, Encounters in Space touches on this because you basically start the space campaign from there. Some of the games go more in depth right at the end of the original Blue Destiny manga there, where, Blue Destiny Unit 1 is gone, the Ifrit is gone, and Nimbus ends up leading a team of whatever commandos he's got left. They assassinate Klus so that the technology can't be replicated again. They steal Unit 2. And Nimbus buggers off with Unit 2 and goes to space. Which Unit 3 is only blue and white because they never got around to finish painting it. They had to deploy it right away, and Yu was the only guy who was clearly sane enough to pilot this thing, so his boss, Colonel, what's his name? I don't remember right now.
Unit 3 wasn't even supposed to be deployed in battle. It was basically a parts machine for Unit 2.
Yeah, it was a reserve machine.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be just, parts for Unit 2. That's why it was never painted the same as the first 2 units.
Yeah, so when you had to turn that thing on, it was like, okay, it's on. Nimbus has to die. And they went to space.
Yeah,
and they had a big fight.
Too bad they didn't flesh out the manga a bit more with that. I would like to have seen that.
Well, they probably did in the reboot, just none of us have read it yet.
I can't find it anywhere.
I can't remember if it was... There's been so much awesome fan art of the Blue Destinies, it's not even funny.
Oh yeah.
They keep because Yu is so awesome and so famous, and they keep using him in every game they can. When he joins Team Guinea Pig, which is Travis Kirkland's team, which is after the events of Blue Destiny, they even have awesome art of like the Pixie, BD1, and not the Pale Rider. There was another machine that he used. It wasn't a slave raid, I don't think, at that point yet, but it was something like that.
Yeah, it's too bad they don't make an OVA of Blue Destiny. That was nice.
Oh god.
Looking at the stuff
that's how Bandai would
used.
print money.
Yeah.
The Jim Dominance, maybe?
Jim Dominance was also a Team Guinea Pig machine that you ended up using.
Yeah.
They've
got colors for him and Philip Hughes.
Yeah, Phil Hughes got one too. Phil got one with dual Gatling guns, lucky bugger.
I just built a Dominance.
Yeah, you built U's Dominance. Phil's comes with the 2 GO5 style Gatling guns that have their own tripods because Phil likes to shoot a lot.
It was the first, I don't know if the first, but the first I've heard of artificial new types.
Well, I guess it makes sense.
Before the whole thing with all the Plaz and Zeta.
Nah.
I guess they were trying to imbue new type powers.
Well, they kind of did. You may as well have been a new type the way it was fighting.
Well, he wasn't really fighting though. I mean, the Marion was controlling the movement, as you know.
Yes and no. That's only when it triggered.
It's kind of a hybrid.
Supplemented piloting skill.
Sorry?
Oh, it's just, adding on. It's like supplemented piloting skills. Like, the exam was there so it could compete with new types, but it didn't allow for, like, new type use weapons, no funnels, no incom, no bits, none of that fun stuff.
No Saikamu stuff, but
that's the word.
The intuition, the reflexes.
Yeah.
I've found with Gundam, if you look very closely, new type powers and new type machines go in one of 2 directions for development. Zeta makes a very good example of this. They either go for obscene speed and agility, and usually pretty decent, powerful arsenal to go with it, or they go hardcore remote weapons.
Well, I mean, if you take a look at Amaru, at the start, it was just intuition, reflexes, and battle knowledge, right? And then you had like
ESP.
And then you had like Lala Sun, who had the, ESP and remote weapons and such.
Yeah, well, the Elemeth was a remote weapon test bed, right? That was the whole point behind the bets.
And then later on, he gets the new Gundam with the funnels.
Oh, he doesn't get it. He freaking designed that thing.
I mean, he goes from just, a regular new type to, I don't know, hyper new type. I don't know what you want to call it.
Oh, come on. We all know the new went Super Saiyan. There's plenty of art showing that.
That was in Char's Counterattack. That was Super Saiyan.
Or what they like to call in Unicorn, the Axis Shock. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair term.
I guess it was a shock to everybody. Green new type space magic light everywhere? Sure.
Sounds like Magic Space Visitors from another series that I remember.
We're not talking Archie Comic Sonic here.
No.
Oh, I thought he was talking about 00.
No, I was thinking
that
Star
one
Wars.
Works.
I was thinking the Magic Space Knights from Star Wars.
I
don't don't know if that's legal to mention here or not, but oh well.
They have
I've got
modifications.
an
I'll allow it.
AMR. I'll snipe you from halfway across the country if I have to.
That's one thing I enjoyed in the manga was seeing those GMs just sniping those DOMs.
Oh yeah, that was good. And
Blowing
all
their
Phil
arm.
was using was the arty cannon too. The freaking was it the 108 mil gun?
Yeah.
Or the 180 mil gun? That's all he was using was that, and just pow pow pow.
And the
Smoking
Zeons
them.
are like, these are just GMs. How are they blowing us to crap?
Yes.
How are these gems kicking our ass?
You know, I don't think they've ever mentioned Gundam in the actual manga.
No,
In dialogue, they don't even mention it at all.
because BD1 does not really look like a Gundam. It looks like a fat gem.
Yeah.
They do mention the Red Comet several times, but they never mention, what do they call it?
They always call it the White Devil when they're
Yeah, they never mention that at all, but they mention, oh yeah,
The
I
White
think it
Devil,
was
the
you
Trojan
that was
horse.
saying he's so good that he could take on the Red Comet right now, and the guy's like, don't tempt fate.
Yeah. Phil's always doing that, and he was like, dude, shut up. You're going to eat those words.
But not once did they mention Amaru and the White Devil, which I found interesting.
Well,
But
that's
it's
because,
such a nice touch, because, you know, it doesn't have to overshadow everything in Gundam, right?
yeah, I mean, besides, they all basically acknowledge that they were veterans of Operation Odessa, which was a really, really nasty battle.
Okay, was 08MS basically Operation Odessa?
No, they had a small part in it, but they were focused on kicking Zeon out of South America,
Okay.
which is why Shinigami Sanders keeps bitching about being in the jungle. And Shiro eventually finds his Zeke girlfriend. They go and disappear away from all of that.
They go have themselves a Beam Saber hot tub.
So it seems like a lot of Gundam series touches on Operation Odessa.
Well, that's because it was one of those major battles in the war.
Yeah, like
Right.
obviously 0079 touches on it. I think,
Well,
I guess 0083 didn't because it's way after.
Stardust Memory had nothing to do with it. Like, even where it started was at the end of the 1 Year War. That was in, like, 0080.
But I guess MS 08.
Yeah,
was
you
obviously-
get a lot of side stories that cross over or happen at the same time as Odessa.
Yeah, it's a relevant starting point.
The amount of side story manga / video games for Gundam is just overwhelming. Like I'm still finding about ones I've never heard of before.
Yeah, the big thing with Odessa too was it was the first major campaign the Earth Federation Army had actually launched mobile suits into. That was why it was so big and why it was a big starting off point for everybody in all these side stories, is because Odessa was the first time gyms entered the battlefield on the ground in such a large scale that Zakus and Goofs were actually being met with equal force. And that's where all of that, let's start at Odessa, really came from. And then, of course, you've got jerks like Makuve who are trying to pull some other crappy mind game stuff from behind the scenes and puppeteering other events like they think they know what they're doing. Makuve was a smug snake. He wasn't the master chess player in that little nonsense.
No, he thought he was all that. A bag of crisps, as they say, but he wasn't.
No, he becomes
Yes.
a meme in Gundam Muso, and that's the best you get out of him.
Oh, I don't know. I like how he got put down in Texas Colony.
I'm trying to recall the suit that he piloted.
The
Was it
Gyan?
Yeah, the Gyan.
I did
Thank you.
see doing
Thank
some
I could
research
see
on
it
the
in my
exam.
mind. I couldn't think of the name.
Yeah, it's
That
the
there
Gyan.
there's an exam, a Gyan that uses exam, but looks like it was just video game lore,
Yeah,
video game
there's-
exclusive. No real actual Universal Century lore going on here.
No. It's that suit was non-canon. Same with the Blue Destiny 2 Omega. That's not considered canon.
That was in that pod-based arcade game, Memories of Battlefield, I believe it was.
Yep, Bonds of the Battlefield.
which no one will ever get to play because it's not been emulated and not released on a console, unfortunately.
In other words, no one outside of Japan will get to play it. Let's make that clear now.
Yeah, because
Very
the
weird.
pod used a panoramic curved screen, so I guess emulating that would be very, very hard.
If I wasn't on staff, I would have sat in line for hours until I found someone to kick somebody out.
Are those pods like the G Self where it had a toilet in the cockpit? Or...
Okay.
So you never have to leave.
I haven't watched G-Reco, so that's news to me.
I couldn't get past the first episode, but I've seen screenshots where there's the pilot seat is actually a toilet. It looks like one of those over-the-top Japanese toilets.
Oh, so it's got all the buttons and everything, and all the ridiculous features nobody would ever actually use.
Yeah, the guy that designed the G-Self was the same guy that did Eureka 7, if you ever watched that.
Yep, that was a good show.
That was a good show, yes. Recognista? Not a good show.
It could have been better. I hope the movie salvaged that.
There was a movie?
They are working on compilation movies, such in the way of like Zeta New Translation and the Gundam movies, where they're taking the episodes and reworking them into feature-length films.
Oh!
So that they can fix what wasn't done because of budget, timing, writing, all those things that will make a good Gundam show not so good.
I'm actually waiting for Hathaway's Flash trilogy movies. I even built the Space Chicken,
Space Chicken.
aka the Penelope.
So then, what more shall we dialogue of the Blue Destiny? Other than I used to think that the first unit was a GM, even though that was never the case. It's just, it had a GM head. That's what I get for relying on a fight game to get my information at the start.
It's not even a gym head. If you look closely, it's still a Gundam head. It's just its eyes are behind an extra visor, and they removed the Titan crest, the
antenna, the V-fin.
Oh, yes.
It's very much still a ground Gundam head.
Right, but as a child, you go by what you see until you do your research.
Yeah, I was a teenager by the time I understood what Gundam was.
I didn't get into Gundam until, I'll just say, the early 90s.
Yeah, but that's the generational gap between the three of us.
Well, in the 90s, of course, there was no internet.
Yes, there was.
Yeah, there was.
You just had to be rich to have it, or you had shitty dial-up.
In 1990? No, there wasn't even...
The internet existed. It just wasn't very big yet.
Well, it existed, but the average person couldn't get to it unless you were a university or college or...
Police force.
So, back then, the only way to get anime was
tape
people
trading.
bringing bootleg copies in from Hong Kong. So I knew this guy. He worked at Eaton's, which was a large department store chain in Canada, similar to Sears. We also had Sears as well.
Back when Sears was big.
Yeah. Well, Eaton's was big too. Not anymore, because of course they're gone now. But I met this guy. His name was Tom. I don't remember how I met him, but he said that he had a large collection of Gundam fan subs off Laserdisc.
Oh, not the fan subs.
And they were Genlock fan subs using an Amiga. But they were actually really well done. But back then, finding Laserdisc fan sub anime on VHS was like the holy grail.
Yep, I can believe that.
He was very particular about running his tapes because he was very worried about wearing them out. But I convinced him, and he dubbed me 0083. And I still have the tapes to this day, but that was my first taste of Gundam in the 90s. Where I lived, there was a store called Oriental Gifts, which still exists to this day. My friend runs it. And he was one of the very few at the time that carried Bandai models in Winnipeg. There was probably like maybe one or two other places. And I used to go there all the time and I got my models because it was the only way to get them. The only other way to get them was to send in a fax order to HobbyLink Japan. because there was no internet, right?
Yeah, I was one of those Gundam Wing kids. First experience was watching Gundam Wing, and then hanging out at Gaddy's Pizza in the cartoon room, and discovered what G Gundam was and how awesome it was.
G Gundam never actually showed here.
Aw.
Wing Gundam.
Gundam came.
Wing Gundam showed here. I know that at the time they were flooding the market with VHS and DVDs.
Gundam Wing came here when Cartoon Network got it in 2000. YTV had the license to air it in Canada.
YTV had it? Okay.
Yeah. They also did Gundam Seed not too long afterwards, too, back when it was the new hotness, and Bandai and Sunrise realized they could actually make some money airing that. I know, because I used to stay up late every Friday night in high school and watch Gundam Seed and watch Kira cry himself to sleep every episode.
That was part of the Toonami lineup? Is that what they called it?
For Cartoon Network, yeah, it was Toonami. For YTV, it was just the Friday night cool shit.
Yeah, that was about the time I stopped paying for cable TV and just downloaded everything from the internet.
I was lucky to have friends that were
ones to get
into anime.
1 meg DSL in my city.
I'd say so, because back then you were lucky if you could get 128K, and that was high speed.
Yeah, I went from a 3036 USR Robotics Courier to a 1 meg DSL that was like, I'm going to download the internet. Because it's like, wow, 100 kilobytes a second? This is amazing.
All the information.
One of the recently new reprints of Blue Destiny Unit 1 Exam.
Yeah, I need to get that one to round off my collection. I've got the 3 originals.
Yeah, the big thing with the new Exam printouts is that with the new manga, the big thing is they included it in the Exam printout. Is in the new manga, Unit 1 has a feather antenna on the side of its head, and it looks really cool.
I love the red shoulders.
Yeah, I've got Unit 2 here with Nimbus's orange shoulders.
Yeah, I have a picture of them all 3 doing the Charlie's Angel pose, but I don't know if there's anything left to discuss about Blue Destiny.
No, thus has been our rant on Blue Destiny.
Yes, especially since I don't even know what ship actually harbored or made birth to the Black Otter team during the course of the space events anyway.
Yeah,
I think it was just a Columbus class.
Yeah, the SD Gundam game did not give them a battleship. In particular, they were deployed individually.
Yeah, probably off of Columbus, which is the big frickin' catamaran cargo ships they like to use.
Oh, those things.
Yeah. There's an idea. Maybe our next podcast will be on ships of the White Base line.
The Pegasus class?
The Pegasus class. There is a lot there.
There is. And I have some Super Robot Wars ranting I can go on about that one.
What, you've had to deal with the Blanc Rival before?
No, just the way that they name things across different games.
Ooh, yeah.
You think you have the White Base, but they call it just the Troy Horse.
Trojan Horse.
Trojan Horse, yeah.
That's the Xeon's term for it.
No,
that's just that class.
But I've written it out. They write Troy Horse, not Trojan Horse. Is the name of the ship. So that's the Pegasus class is good. It will be a fun dialogue.
You viewers, you decide.
Who won?
Hear it in the comments.
Fight it out in the comments. Fight to the death.
Yep. We want to hear what you think.
Give us your lore, your facts, your detailed data.
And please tell us where and how we're wrong.
Oh, yeah. Don't be afraid to tell us we're wrong.
But just, if you're going to say it, I want links. I want to know how and why.
Cite your sources.
Show me the wikis.
Show us the scanlations.
If you've made it this far in the podcast, if anybody knows where the a fan sub translated version of the 2015 version of the Blue Destiny manga is, we would love to read it.
I would absolutely do so.
But I think that's it for the Blue Destiny podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm Chris from Gunpla Network.
And I'm Patrick.
And I'm new here. Hello, I'm Zappa.
And as usual, keep building.